Now for a slightly mellower sound, using the fuzz. I'll put this on as like a buffer here. All right. All right, welcome to the Humdinger Silicon Fuzz and Octave pedal. As you can see by the look on the dude's face, this thing can get pretty crazy. All right, let's check out the basic clean sound that I got on my guitar here, Fender Strat, into Marshall Seriatone 18-watt Marshall copy. Bridge pickup. So, signal flows this way, first into the octave and then into the fuzz pedal. The cool thing is this can also act just like a boost. Just leave the octave switch off. Right here we have a JFET transistor side. JFETs are known for their very cool sound for guitar preamps and buffers and such. Okay, it keeps your guitar pickups from loading down and really helps preserve the tone of your guitar coming through, especially with long cable runs and such. Okay, the way this is set up here, when you start to push it a little bit harder, you actually start to get a little bit of grit out of this, all right? So this is going to be useful. I'll flip on the octave in a second, and you'll notice that you lose some volume. So you're going to be able to compensate for that by cranking this. And there's even more gain on tap here with the grit switch. Okay, so if you use this alone as an overdrive, you can get some cool sounds already. All right, so you've already got the possibility of using this side as an overdrive, and that hitting into the fuzz gives you some very cool stuff. Let's just start off now checking out the octave side, which is what this is really meant to do. You notice there is a thump if you're playing with the switches here. This switch will not thump on you, okay? So when you're live and playing or recording, this is not going to give you any thumps. This, however, is the nature of the beast. Flipping the octave switch there is going to give you a thump. So anyway, here's the octave sound, just like it is. Okay, so you lose a little volume flipping the octave in. That's what this is here for. And if you want to get that octave to get a little bit more of that grit and presence, throw the grit switch. All right. For those of you who are not familiar with octave up effects, they don't play nicely with close intervals, so thirds and such tend to start to sound clangy and nasty. However, fifths work pretty well, especially it happens in this JFET version that we've cooked up here. It somehow seems to round it off. It's probably a little bit of that distorting and overloading that's happening there that kind of gives it a smoother edge. However, if you're playing a full bar chord, that big A bar chord there, you get sort of modulation and clanging inside of it. So stick to fifths, stick to octaves. You can get some other cool. Play that E7 sharp 9 chord, get a big clangy mess. Leave away the E on the bottom, and it starts to actually come out a little bit better. All right, so holding. You actually start to get the sound of another note ascending behind it. So it's pretty cool, the interesting effects you can get with this octave up thing. The combination of this now, this octave up on this side, along with the fuzz on the other side, is going to let you get sounds very similar to the Foxx tone machine, for instance. And this is going to have its own kind of twist on that. All right, so let's check out the fuzz side now. And I should say many thanks to Aaron Nelson and others who have developed the silicon tone bender style circuit over the years. This is a particular favorite of mine. And let's start off with a lower gain setting. I was doing before. Back off your volume. All right, and you're getting very Hendrixy, cool, rhythmic kind of sounds. Start increasing that volume. Volume down, no fuzz. Volume up, fuzz starts coming in. Very reactive, very cool silicon fuzz. This is going to act very much like a fuzz face when you just have it in this setting here. And the important thing here, drive is pretty obvious. I don't need to get too far into that, okay? You crank your drive, go and you got lots of gain on tap. Right. This fuzz is implemented using one BC 108, one of the famous fuzz transistors, okay, and the other ones I use low noise version to keep this from getting too noisy. Even with the Strat, it's bearable here with that gain cranked. All right, go to an in-between position, it's gone, of course. Okay, before I go on to the texture knob here, I want to talk about the fat switch here. Down, pointing towards fat, is the fat position, meaning just all your range of the guitar is coming through. That's going to be just the right thing when you're when you want all that low warmth. However, there may be situations where you want a tighter sound. It's going to affect your fuzz. You're going to get more of that low end breakup when this is in this position here. It's going to get cleaned up. All right, this is going to just tighten things up overall. Now we're going to go back and talk about the texture knob here and what happens when you start moving your texture over. Let's start actually all the way over this way. First thing you get is a very gated kind of fuzz. Right, that zippery gated kind of thing. Okay, and at the bottom of the range, it kind of fizzes and fuzzles out, and that's kind of a cool sound. Now here, where you can start to hear your guitar coming through a little bit, that's just straight up fuzz stuff. All right, check it out then. Tightens it up a lot. All right, more full, chaotic, nice, juicy fuzz this way, more tight and controlled here. As you take the texture knob over this way, you're going to get much more to overdrive territory rather than a fuzz kind of sound. All right, so notice get that raspy fuzz edge here. combination with the low cut here is going to really give you that sort of new. I always associate it with the British heavy metal kind of sound, but again, doing the Brown sound was working pretty well. Down is definitely warmer and fuller, fuzzier, juicier. Here, tighter, cleaner, more controlled. All right, so you got the texture knob down. Tone is a pretty obvious one. Roll that tone back and you're getting... Crank it over here and you're going to start to get a little bit more harsh. Everything's a usable range on this pedal. All right, so it's not going to be ear-splittingly nasty over here. Finally, volume. You know, if your tone is all the way over here, you do lose a little. Here's a little louder. So you can compensate here, all right? And just overall, if you want to push your amp a little bit harder, you know, even if you got your gain down, use your volume to compensate for that, like. Volume rolled down here. Now we get into Humdinger territory, which is the combination of the two. All right, what do we got here when we take the octave and smack it on into the fuzz? All right, octave, octave with fuzz. All right, so we're now into the territory of something like a Foxx tone machine, but with just a lot more ability to adjust this, to switch the octave in and out, to tailor the sound to be smoother if you want to. All right. To make it more biting and cutting and fuzzy if you want to. Okay, to mellow that octave out a little bit too. Cool, sort of chunky octave tracking sound when we get down here. Not as, you know, crazy far out octave sounding as that riff, but we'll still give you some cool tones like that. All right, bridge. All right, thanks, Jack White. Gonna borrow that one for a second. One last thought. Just having sort of a like a semi-clean rhythm kind of sound. Okay, like, you know, fuzz with the volume back down a little bit. Without the octave on, and be able to just whack and get the sound. So you've immediately got something right at the tip of your toe there where you can get some more fuzz by pushing the fuzz side harder with the boost. All right, the last thing that, of course, the question always comes, what happens if you just turn everything on and everything up? Let's check it out. cranked, of course. But you must like noise if you're doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope you dig the pedal. And see you soon for another round of Guitar Journal with some lessons and fun.